Welcome back to the Crooked Spine Show. Here to talk with Jamie and Mike about Cedar House, a place for recovery from addiction and alcoholism. I'm going to split this in two parts. This is part one. We talk about starting off with differences of their centers and what their purpose is overall with their treatments. Also to how they assess their clients and how the detox works for each facility. We also get into dealing with life substances and how life affects people being on substances for one too. Also difficulties of being on addiction, and is there an age difference that affects addiction too? Lastly, in part one, we talk about the purpose of humility and relationships to help with your recovery versus not having those things. Sometimes people will fall off the boat again if they don't have those. Also too, about getting out of your comfort zone, and also when you're in comfort zone, how it helps or hurts addiction. All right, this is part one. We'll talk about part two. Let's go through part one in the video. At that point in the video, again, the show notes has the highlights of all these, and also to the actual link to our Facebook page and other podcasts too. Let's go right to the video and podcast, and I'll see you afterwards.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, here live at Crooked Spine Show. We're at Cedar House in Bloomington. Here with Jamie, a big Steeler fan like myself, and also Mike. Steeler fan? No, obviously not.
Rams, Raiders.
Sorry about that, Mike.
That's okay.
Sorry
about that.
The next show.
I'm going to try to stay at home.
Good for you. Good for you. Makes it easier to watch TV, I guess. We're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about changing people's lives.
Okay. And this is more, from what I've read again, short-term and getting into long-term care for drug rehab, mental illness. What else?
I think that pretty much that covers it.
The 90% rule, okay, of that.
Sure.
And when we talked about to start, how long ago? When did Cedar House really start as a corporation, as an organization?
Cedar House incorporated in 1973. Started off as a 12-bed facility, primarily to treat men with alcoholism issues. Since that time, we've graduated to a multi-facility, 143 beds, and encompasses quite a continuum of care, including outpatient treatment, detox, residential, long-term, 30, 60, 90 days, actually short-term. And then we also have a facility very close and nearby here that houses women with children.
Okay.
Also treatment, 30, 60, 90 days. Could be a little longer depending because we're dealing with a whole different element.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then also we have 2 housing units. We have a sober living unit across the street for adult men, and then up in Apple Valley, in our most recent addition, is a housing unit for transitional aged youth. And it's located in the high desert. Has a capacity of up to 32. We noticed that we had a lot of young people coming through treatment.
Young meaning like teenagers, 10, 12?
No, we're all adults, so 18 and up.
18
and up. But when I say young, I'm talking son's age, 18 to 25. And so a lot of times they would come to us and they had nowhere to go whenever they were getting ready to leave and no family support.
Wow.
So when the opportunity came, we decided to embark on that process, and so now we have a transitional housing unit for that specific age population.
So there's basically 4 different buildings or facilities, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
And right now here, what do you focus on at this facility?
This particular facility is primarily focused on substance abuse treatment and co-occurring disorders.
Okay.
So, and I'll let Mike speak to this going for a little more detail, but Cedar House has kind of its expertise and known specialty is in working with individuals that have co-occurring disorders.
What is that?
Essentially what that is they have a substance abuse issue, but concurrent, they're dealing with mental health issues. A lot of times what we find when we get people into treatment who are addicted to a street drug is that because they lacked the resources for proper care before they came in, they were self-medicating what was a mental health diagnosis that was left undiagnosed, untreated. And so now we're dealing with that element as well. And so We will work with a lot of people that may struggle in other treatment facilities, but they know they can come here. My staff are extremely tolerant and work very well with that population in particular.
And walk me through how their process goes when they come in. Do you see a medical doctor first? Do you see a therapist? Do they get drug tested, or how does that work?
Well, that depends.
Yeah, well, because of our Medi-Cal waiver that we have to adhere to, they have to get screened by the county's assessment centers first.
Okay.
Once they're assessed, then they're channeled here or other facilities, and then yes, they're assessed by the medical staff and to determine what kind of medical problems or mental health problems that they've been diagnosed with. If they have proper medication to be able to do program here, the doctor has to make that clear way for them to do a program here.
Okay.
Then we determine whether or not they're going to need withdrawal management, which is detox. And the doctor's going to prescribe a medication protocol for them to do withdrawal management, and or not, and they're just going to come in the program, and they're going to be further assessed throughout the whole treatment episode.
So, Mike, if someone comes in there, like Jamie was saying, they may be on a street drug, but they have a mental issue. Now they've been diagnosed for whatever's going on. At that point, you'd mentioned they actually may go on some medications to get them off the street drug, then get them to more. They can detox completely, so it kind of weans them down a little bit.
Yes, we don't know which came first.
Sure.
And when Jamie mentioned earlier about youth, a lot of the people nowadays, I would say over the last 10 years, a lot of kids have come to us. They have to be 18 years old to get in here.
Yes.
But they may have been using for 8 years already.
Wow.
They may have gone undiagnosed for 8 years, or they may have a diagnosis and not have been medication compliant. So that's what we're dealing with. So for us, we're not here to determine which came first.
Yes.
But we do know it's self-medication. And so we have to find out their history and see if we can find out who their doctors are, or refer them to the proper mental health facilities to get an assessment for medication. And we do have to help them understand that it's quite possible that you've been using maybe an illicit substance.
Yes.
To maintain your lifestyle, to maintain a certain lifestyle. And then that lifestyle, which is unhealthy, helps encourage you to go keep using that illicit substance.
It's a feedback loop.
Yeah, we're trying to get them to look at that for a second here, and just to see how it would be if you had prescribed medications, And so, it's traumatic. It's traumatic to have done something for so many years and have it taken away from you, even though it's killing you. But
that was our truth for the last maybe 6 months, a year, 5 years, 8 years. So this is how do I change my whole mentality of how I'm healthy versus what health is.
Right, and that's why we're here. We don't just want them to look at you need to stop using substances. We want you to have a new perspective of self. There's some value there, and we just need you to be open-minded enough just to take a moment to look at who you are without these unhealthy behaviors, lifestyle, substances that you take in, and just see if you like what you see.
So their perception, they have to be open to a different perception of their life at that point. Is there a certain extremes to where at that point they can't see until they've detoxed a little bit here or there, or done medications, or how does the extremes kind of work on that end? What blocks them from seeing that? What's a common thing?
Well, one of the common denominators is the lifestyle that they lived for so long. Or the way when they live a certain way for so long, we believe that some of those things were there before they became addicts. They've maybe been traumatized, or there was something unhealthy going on before they became addicts.
There was a trigger.
So we traumatized them by saying, okay, you're clean, stop using now.
Yeah.
And then they still have these tools that they manage life with that are extremely unhealthy, and we're asking them to rid themselves of that as well. Well, the substance use can stop that, and which is traumatic, but it can stop, and they realize, oh, I really don't need that. But how do I live from age 8 years old? Now I'm 18 or 21 years old. How do I live now? Because my whole teenage and adult life so far has been under the influence and living an unhealthy lifestyle, and that's how I manage life. And when life gets tough, I go back. Yeah. So now life hits me.
Yeah.
So and they call it post-acute withdrawal syndrome, which is a series of symptoms that occur when you become clean and sober. Often can last up to 18 months.
Wow. Okay.
So here's the thing. Those symptoms are things such as irritability, intolerance, oversensitive, overemotional, insensitive. Those things. Yeah, even the bipolar and stuff like that. Those things are things that happen because now life is hitting you head on without any substance use.
When they've had no way to learn from 8 to 18 how to deal with it in a natural, younger environment, a safe environment.
Yes.
A school setting, for example, or playing with kids where they have an argument and they figure it out and they're good again.
Yeah.
They either learn that unconsciously or consciously, I'm assuming.
Yeah, something they may have never been in a healthy environment ever.
Yeah.
And so they have tools to manage the unhealthy environment and no tools to manage a healthy environment. That's why they struggle. So when you ask me, what's the what keeps them from what's the point of where it's the most extreme struggle, that is when they get sober and they're in at Cedar House, it's a unconditionally loving environment. Like there's no condition on which we don't love you and take care of you. Even if you're acting up, we still love you.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for them. That is difficult for them.
They've never seen that before.
They've never seen it before, and they don't know how to handle it. So they have these tools that burden them because they're trying to use these tools when the environment which made them necessary no longer exists.
And and it's not just the youth that go through that. And one of the analogies that I like to use for people that maybe are trying to grasp this whole thing about drug addiction and why can't you just stop, and you see it's killing you, you see it's wrecking your family, you see you can't hold a job, you see it just impacts every area of your life. But imagine this, Tony, you're in the middle of a raging river and you've got your arms around this rock that's in the middle of this river, and the water's just beating you from every side, even beating your head against the rock from time to time. And you know that the only way you're ever going to survive is to let go of this rock and let that water take you to the water's edge. That's a scary proposition.
Is it you've been told it's you can get to the water's edge?
You've been told because you see a whole bunch of people standing over there on the water's edge.
Okay.
But yet, for you to let go of that rock, it's terrifying. And so, helping them understand that, once you get to the water's edge, there are tools, there is hope, there is life, there is all kinds of things waiting for you. There is happiness, there's family, there's job, there's, all kinds of things. That if you'll just let go of that rock and you'll brave that rough water for a short period of time, life can be beautiful. And that's kind of what I think we're trying to help people get to that place.
That's a good way to put it, Jamie. Tony, it's misery.
You have to get through that.
But just like that rock and the water, they're comfortable in that misery. Only because they know how to manage that. They have the tools to manage
That's their normal.
That's it.
So it's chaotic, whatever it is. So again, they become dependent on that. That's just it. And they have to be opened up to see that there just might be another way to live than the way you've been living,
Yeah.
And it's just like when you asked her that question about, but they were told that, the water's down the road, there's something positive down there. Yes, they're told that. you know, and they have to be shown that, and a lot of them just don't think there's another way to live, and you just have to show them. And so it's really good to have people down the road, and we bring in the people at meetings at night, the 12-step meetings. They've been down the road, they've been down that same road, and they give them strength and hope, you know, with their testimonies.
They show them it can be done.
That it can be done, you know, and
a majority of our staff are recovering.
yeah.
They've gone through the program.
They've gone
Yes.
through
Okay.
either this or another program.
Yes.
We do have a number of Cedar House graduates that come back to work here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. And with that going on, as people get older, you said from say 18 years old to maybe 25, 35, 45, is it harder or easier to let go of that rock when you get older?
I would say that it's case
so
by
many
case.
variables. Yeah, so many variables.
It's case
right?
by case.
Okay.
You know, because you know, as you get older, I mean, if you just take men for instance, if you get older, what they think is that they become more macho, more man, you know, or they have to be.
Pride.
Because their perspective of what a man is skewed. You know, you know, in other words, like independence and self-centeredness. Like, I don't need any help, even though I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't need help. I'm a man. You know, and so when you get older and you put up those walls, and those walls are strengthened, yes, that in that sense it gets more difficult as they get older. You can't tell them what to do. Once they get clean and sober, and now there's a lifestyle that you have to deal with. It's harder for them to let go.
Okay.
But also with age, people get tired.
So that's the other side.
Sick
Okay.
and tired.
Yeah, that's the
Sick and
humility
tired.
part of it. You know, when you know, they get tired and you're like, okay, I'm ready to listen. So it's case by case, and you just got to open them up.
Get worn down a little bit.
Yeah.
I think too, the other element, as for any of us in
Yes.
any situation that we've got to get through a difficult situation, is that what's on the other side of that for us. So for example, we have a contract with the county Children and Family Services, and so a number of people who come here are here because somebody else has custody of my kids because I'm a drug addict.
There's
And
a
I
carrot
think
out there.
There's
Okay.
a big carrot
Okay.
compared to somebody that has nothing really to look forward to. So, you know, you want to kind of, you know, try to as well is give people as many carrots as are real in their life, and you
Know
know,
the situation, know what's going on.
continue to, you know, kind of give them, this is why you want to fight through this. This is why you want to do this.
Wow. Okay. And is once they've gotten and they go, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna let go of this rock. I'm gonna let this process happen. Then what? Then what happens?
They make that same decision every day. Sometimes they make it every 5 minutes, because it's one of those kinds of things that, that's what, you know, I felt, and I was in the mood to say when I said it, I really meant it. But today, now that I'm confronted with, you know, being ticked off at this staff person, or having a phone call with my mother that just went sour, or whatever life brings, as life does for all of us, now all of a sudden, you know, so they sometimes have to make that decision multiple times.
That change, and when they do that, what type of tools do you have there or here to help them, I guess, transition? Is it more group therapy? Is it more keeping a diary? What do you have them do? What kind of tools y'all offer?
All kinds
I don't know.
We have evidence-based curriculum.
Okay.
What I would tell you about it is that all of it is about honest self-assessment.
Okay.
We try to encourage them when they're reading the literature and answering the questions that you're not trying to get a grade.
Right.
You're trying to assess yourself through.
It's not
this
about me
curriculum.
accepting you. It's about you accepting yourself.
Yes, and then the next thing is a spiritual foundation. And the recovery community preaches that you need to be humble enough to understand that there is a power greater than yourself. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yes.
Some of them have had a faith in a God and have lost their way. Some of them don't really know what that is.
Yeah.
So we have to let them know that you're not the end of the world. You're not the world. The world doesn't revolve around you. There is a power greater than yourself, and we have to show them that. And we try to encourage them in any kind of way. If there are 10 people that are further down the road where you're trying to go, and perhaps maybe the wisdom of those 10 people collectively is just greater than yours when you're trying to go down the same road that they've been down, can you humble yourself to submit to their wisdom? Just for an example, if you can't submit to the wisdom of a God, or
at least take one step toward that. Here's another human.
Yes,
they've gone through what you went through. They got through that. Can you accept that, and then can you understand how they got through there, and then use those tools?
So it's very, very
to
spiritual.
just mimic per se.
Yes, very spiritual, and it is something that gets lost along the way because people begin to have success. The hygiene improves, the grooming improves.
Like, what is this? Who am I?
The family support comes back a little bit. They start, the material things start coming. The job.
They can actually see positivity in their life,
but they have to remain humble because they take that on as, look what I did, and forget that no, I had help, and I wasn't the higher power at the time, and so they have to constantly be reminded, and they have to remind themselves, stay humble. You didn't do this by yourself. Even if it was a job, someone had to give it to you. Apartment, someone had to let you in. Whatever it is.
Right.
So what was important is the relationships that you had with those people, not necessarily the accomplishments that you made.
So it's being grateful as much as humble.
Absolutely. Gratitude is huge. And as I'm listening to us talk about this, it's no different for any of us.
No, doesn't matter if you're
I mean, you see a turtle on a fence post, he didn't get there by himself, right? And so we all have to live like that, but Absolutely. It just seems to be
being a human. It's almost you're usually, when you're healthy, in survival mode. You have to think outside the box. Okay, I'm going to read this, do this, talk to these people, belong in this group to help me realize, or go to church, help me realize I need to be grateful, humble. I'm this little ant on this planet for this short window of my life.
Right.
Yes.
I have control over this. The world is 20,000 times bigger than me.
Right.
Yes.
All I have is this.
Yeah.
At that point, some people don't realize that, and I would think, and that's a healthier state. When you're in a stress state, as people I'm assuming here are, they have to close their world out to defend themselves from a human mindset, a fight or flight mindset.
Yeah, and Jamie brings up an excellent point. We have to, our job is to align with our participants and let them know, hey, I live like this too. Whether I'm a recovering addict or not, I have to live by this code as well.
We're all recovering from something.
I have to live by this code as well.
Right.
I might have a diagnosis, or I might be undiagnosed, but I have to live by this code. I live like this, so when I'm telling you, I live the same way.
Even outside of here, my life still deals with the same stressors.
Forever.
Yeah. Good.
Absolutely.
That means you're still alive if it's
Exactly.
you have stress in your life, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think people, and like you're saying, is when they come in here, they see that and they get that job, they get family connected with, they get that positivity. What makes them draw back? How do they lose their way again?
I would say, and it could be subconscious, but it is arrogance.
Okay.
I can make it softer, by saying that their level of humility is diminished because of the accomplishment. Right. Jamie just mentioned self-sabotage. The thing about it is the fear of success because of the fear of failure.
You've never been there before.
Never been there before, and when I talk to you about being dependent and addicted, well, there's such a thing as being dependent on being dependent. Like I'm going to lose mom's help. I'm going to lose my sister coming and bringing me things, and I'm going to lose all of that if I become independent. Yeah. So it's addiction.
It's almost like people that are incarcerated for long periods of time, and they become very institutionalized in terms of their thinking, and they get released, And now I'm out here in this big bad world, and I really don't know how to operate out here. So let me do something to get back into that cocoon of institutionalization that I'm accustomed to, and that I know how to live in that environment. That's a whole nother world. I know how to live in. Whereas you and I, we go, I wouldn't survive a day in that environment. There are other people that's their comfort zone.
That's their opposite. They're
exactly. And so, especially for folks that come in, because we see people come in, this is their first treatment experience, and I've met people that have, to some degree, even brag, this is my 7th treatment center, and I'm just like, okay, that's okay. I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad that you're here. Let's try to make this one stick. It's okay. And we're, like Mike said, very forgiving, very loving. There is nothing you can do here that my staff don't understand. The expectation is, no, I know you get upset. I know they get on your last nerve sometimes. But you have to always treat them with dignity and respect, because a misstep or an incident with a staff person who they're looking to, whether they know they are or not, or whether they present like, I'm hoping you'll help me right now, they're looking to the staff that are out there day to day to help me get through this bad moment. And if a staff responds in a way that doesn't demonstrate that could be the thing that they say, absolutely, I'm done, I'm out of here. And they walk, because this is totally voluntary. Nobody's locked in here. And they could go out there, and that could be the last time anybody ever sees them.
So as you go through part 1 with Mike and Jamie, Cedar House is a place to help people understand what's causing their addiction. And usually it's not something where it happened a couple of days ago, a couple weeks ago. It's happened for a while. And again, we talked about too in this part 1 is how humility helps, while also trusting people that work there, get them to help you understand where it's coming from and helping deal with your life so you don't go back to addiction if that's an issue, right? So we'll go to part 2 next week. But again, part 1 is this part, and also part 2, we'll talk about more of different houses like Maple House and also Oasis House, other centers they have that help Cedar House overall thrive and grow, right? So enjoy the week. Go to the show notes again too. Go to the podcast, the links there, or listen on iTunes, and I'll see you next week.